Howdy. So, in today's message, we're looking at Matthew 15, and we're looking at when Jesus is healing the Canaanite woman's daughter. Now, in the last few messages, we've been looking at the idea that Jesus is the Lord of creation. Now, the thing is that when we are looking at each of these stories, Jesus feeding the 5,000, Jesus walking on the water, and then Jesus healing the uh, Canaanite woman's daughter, we see things that we look at as very miraculous. So, things that go beyond what we would normally see on an everyday basis. Now, with that though, is that we also have to ask this question of why it is that the miracles were such a big part of what Jesus was doing. Because the thing is that with each of those, miracles that he's doing, they always have a context. They always have something else that's happening at the same time. And what we end up seeing is we end up seeing this interaction with the Pharisees before Jesus is talking with the Canaanite woman. And it helps us to understand a little bit better what's really going on when Jesus is interacting with people. The thing is that the Pharisees had come all the way from Jerusalem to find him out in the middle of nowhere, and they had ended up telling him, "Your disciples don't wash their hands before they eat." Now, normally we think this is, well, fine. I mean, okay, wash your hands before you eat. Not a big deal. We should be doing that. But in reality, the Pharisees were actually emphasizing something that was a little bit different. When they were saying that, they weren't just trying to point out something that, well, it's hygienic and a good idea. They were making a claim about the disciples and whether they were good enough to be disciples. They were attacking the cleanliness of the disciples on the inside, not just talking about whether or not they'd wash their hands for the sake of eating. And that's the thing about this, is that these passages are really talking about how Christ is interacting with us, how he's reaching out to us. And the thing is that while we do not have anything to offer, while we are not good enough, at the same time, Christ is saying that we are, because he has declared us to be good enough. So when we see Jesus speaking with the Canaanite woman, and he basically is saying, why would I give the bread to the dogs instead of to the children? The thing is that Jesus is calling the woman, as hard as this is to think, he's calling her a dog. But there's a reason for it. He's trying to get at something. The thing is that Jesus is wanting to demonstrate where the woman's heart really is. He's wanting to demonstrate what it is that she's really getting at. Is she just coming to him because he's been doing miracles and she wants to cover all of her bases and she just wants to get something? Or does she truly get who he is? Because she says, "Lord, Son of David, help me, heal my daughter." The thing is that oftentimes we cry out to God, and we're basically just throwing our a Hail Mary out in the air, hoping that something ends up catching. But we don't necessarily identify that Jesus is the way, the truth, the life. And so when he pushes her and he's saying this, she doesn't respond with anger or throwing it back at him or trying to say, "Oh, how dare you call me a dog?" Instead, she says, "Even the dogs get the crumbs." What it is that even acknowledging, like, well, even if I am a dog, why not still give me what you have left over? And so with that is that Jesus doesn't give her the crumbs. He gives her everything. He gives her hope, he gives her grace, and he shows mercy to her daughter. And with that is ending up showing that Jesus is trying to show that he is happy to give grace and hope to all people. And that because of what he's done for us, none of us are worthless in his eyes. None of us are unclean in his eyes. So as much as we might look around at the world around us and identify, these are the people that are good enough and these are the ones who are not, these are the ones that I will side with and these are the ones I will be against, is that instead Jesus Christ has come to be here for all of us. And he also wants us to bring that same mercy and hope to all people, not just the ones that we like or the ones that we think are good enough. Which also means that even when we think we're not good enough, in his eyes, he's still given us everything.